Please video like and subscribe this channel. The Grand Hall of the Intergalactic Trade Council gleamed like a constellation frozen in time. Metallic spires reflected the lights of countless stars visible through the transparent dome, and holographic displays hovered above, projecting exotic delicacies and luxury goods from 1,000 worlds. Every corner was alive with conversation, alien dialects, human translations, robotic inflections, and even a few musical languages that resonated directly with thought. And in the midst of this extraordinary gathering, she appeared. Kira, the alien girl with luminous teal skin and eyes that seemed to refract every hue in the galaxy, strolled in as if she belonged nowhere and everywhere at once. Her gait was relaxed, almost casual, drawing subtle attention from the crowd without any conscious effort. Every diplomat, merchant, and corporate magnate glanced her way, curious about her presence. But Kira wasn't here for fame, politics, or interstellar alliances. She was here for the food. The beginning. Kira had always had a talent for finding herself in improbable situations. Or perhaps it was the universe that had a peculiar sense of humor with her. She had arrived at the Trade Council's annual gala purely by accident or by some cosmic joke, sneaking aboard the freighter that delivered rare spices from the Orion Belt. When she realized she had been brought into the center of the galaxy's most prestigious social event, most people would have panicked. But Kira. She smiled. "I'm just here for the free food," she had muttered to herself as she stepped into the hall, blending effortlessly with the throng of dignitaries. The aroma of synthesized ambrosia, roasted zalari root, and baked nitrogen pastries was intoxicating. Her stomach growled a sound that made the aliens around her glance with mild curiosity. Across the hall, in a corner of strategic importance, sat the CEO of the Galactic Commerce Union, Rylan Varick. He was a man, or rather, a being used to control, influence, and precision. Every decision he made altered trade flows, manipulated political balance, and sometimes even determined the survival of planets. He had never expected, however, to notice someone like Kira in a crowd of thousands. And yet, he did. Rylan watched her for a moment, his sharp eyes taking in the teal skin, the casual elegance, and the unmistakable nonchalance. She was not a diplomat, nor a merchant, nor a guest with credentials. There was no protocol surrounding her presence. And yet, there was something magnetic about her, something that pulled him out of his calculations and made him genuinely curious. The middle. Kira moved through the banquet with singular focus. Her first stop was the dessert table, where spheres of caramelized starlight floated above the platters, awaiting consumption. She grabbed a few with dexterous fingers, popping one into her mouth with a satisfied grin. The flavors were beyond anything she had imagined, sweet, tangy, and with a faint hum of quantum resonance that made her feel dizzy with delight. Nearby, a group of Alarian nobles whispered, their compound eyes wide. "Who is she?" one asked. "Is she even registered?" "No idea," another replied. "But she doesn't behave like the usual guests." Meanwhile, Rylan Varick's curiosity had grown into subtle intrigue. Who was this girl who dared move through a gathering of the galaxy's most powerful beings without fear, without caution, and most importantly, without protocol? He adjusted his seat slightly, letting his attention linger on her, analyzing her every movement. Kira, oblivious to his scrutiny, had discovered the main course section: roasted krill from the Zentaur Nebula, crustaceans from the aquatic colonies of Lethra, and spiced meat from the desert plains of Viridian 4. She sampled a bit of everything, her eyes lighting up with joy at every new flavor. To her, the banquet was not about politics or power. It was a treasure trove of tastes she had dreamed about in her quieter moments aboard freighters and orbital stations. It was then, as she reached for a particularly shiny plate of grave-roasted fruit, that Rylan approached. His presence was calm, deliberate, but it carried the weight of someone accustomed to authority. "You," he said, pointing subtly. "You're not supposed to be here." Kira looked up, her mouth still slightly full, and shrugged. "I'm just here for the free food," she said, completely honestly. The words were like a spark in a dry forest. Gasps echoed around the room. Diplomats paused mid-conversation. Waiters froze mid-step. Holographic projections of luxurious goods flickered momentarily as if even the technology sensed the disruption. Rylan blinked. For the first time in decades of galactic administration, someone had said something completely uncalculated, unapologetically bold. And it was entirely, undeniably refreshing. "Free food," he repeated, incredulous. "You don't care about politics? About alliances?" Kira shook her head, smiling. "Not tonight. Tonight, I just want to eat." The revelation. Over the next hour, Rylan found himself increasingly fascinated by Kira. She was fearless, indifferent to hierarchy, and yet somehow intelligent in ways he hadn't expected. When she commented on the unusual flavor combinations, or pointed out that a particular beverage would pair perfectly with a Zentaur Nebula delicacy, he realized she was not just eating, she was observing, learning, and analyzing. Kira's presence caused a subtle chain reaction. Diplomats began to whisper more openly, their conversations no longer strictly protocol. Some laughed nervously, questioning the rigidity of the event. A few junior officers even dared to sample food from unauthorized stations, inspired by her audacity. Rylan, despite himself, found amusement and admiration growing. He was a master of strategy, of control, yet here was a single alien girl who had upended the balance of his meticulously planned evening simply by existing and being honest about her intentions. He decided to approach her again, this time with a different tone. "You have quite the impact on this gathering," he said quietly, leaning slightly toward her. Kira smiled, unabashed. "Impact? I'm just eating." "You are doing more than that," he replied. "You're reminding everyone here that we often forget the simple pleasures, amidst all our calculations and politics." For the first time, Kira considered him beyond the tall, imposing figure of authority. His words weren't threats, they weren't demands, they were genuine observations. And for some reason, that honesty drew her in. Unexpected connections. By the middle of the banquet, a curious alliance had formed. Kira's casual honesty and unfiltered joy sparked conversations among delegates who would normally never speak to one another. Interspecies rivalries softened in the glow of shared curiosity and the intoxicating aroma of alien cuisine. Rylan, watching from his vantage point, realized something extraordinary. Sometimes, the universe's grandest plans could be appended by something as simple as an honest statement or a desire for a good meal. At one point, a minor diplomatic crisis threatened to erupt over a miscommunication between two planetary delegations. Kira, entirely unaware of the tension, offered each side a sample of her favorite dish. In moments, the absurdity of the situation, combined with the enjoyment of flavors, eased tempers, and laughter replaced anger. Rylan could hardly believe it. A simple act, motivated purely by appetite and joy, had prevented what could have been a major interstellar incident. The ending. By the end of the evening, Kira had eaten more than anyone else, laughed at more absurdities than most diplomats could keep track of, and unwittingly changed the atmosphere of an entire banquet. She had no plan, no agenda, no interest in alliances, but her authenticity, her unabashed honesty, and her focus on simple joys had achieved what centuries of diplomacy could not. Rylan approached her once more as the last guests prepared to leave. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "I think you've changed this banquet more than anyone else here." Kira looked up, shrugging with a grin. "I'm just here for the free food." And yet, for Rylan and for everyone who had witnessed her presence, that statement no longer seemed trivial. It was a reminder that sometimes, joy, authenticity, and simplicity could have a more profound effect than strategy, wealth, or power. As the stars twinkled outside the spire's dome, Kira walked away, full and satisfied, leaving behind a room of shocked, amused, and quietly inspired beings. One remark. One alien girl. One unforgettable night. And the galaxy would not forget it.